What's good, people? It's about that time to randomly relate versus rant. No hate. So, I just watched the video of Jarrell Miller. And Jarrell Miller was basically typical Jarrell Miller. Calling Anthony Joshua all types of names and, pretty much going in business for himself to, just talk about shit and promote himself. He says he has a lawsuit going on right now with some name. I don't remember the guy's name he said, but lawsuit going on. He talked about how boxing is pretty much, like this person he called a piece of shit. Pretty much just talked about a lot of different things. Not a whole lot of different things, but just basically mentioned, talked about the fight, Dubois versus Usyk, and that, he gives Dubois a chance for sure. He still think it's a 50-50 fight. Now, he says that he wants Dubois to win. Now, I don't know, maybe he likes Dubois better than he does Usyk, I don't know. But he did say that he thinks if Usyk wins this fight, he's going to retire. So for Jarrell Miller, it's more of a thing of he wants a title shot. Now, my thing about Jarrell Miller, why can't he get a shot? Why can't he get the big fights? My thing about that is, for me, and listening to what people say, because you have people that come in comment sections or they'll ask the questions like, how come this guy's not getting this and that? Like, you're not getting these shots. I think, for one, and I'm going by things that people say about him, and then personally, me, myself, how I see Jarrell Miller. One, you're like 300 pounds, and he was all about volume. He was never like a big puncher. He was always volume, and he'd be able to wear guys down. He's much bigger than these other guys, and he'd be able to wear them down. And his size, people look at him and think, man, you should be knocking guys out. Now, that's not always fair. Just because you're big don't mean that you have the hardest punch. Okay, but I feel like, one, people say how his style is boring. He just throws punches, no real rhyme or reason outside of just trying to wear you out. Well, that's his game plan. Okay, just wear you out, out-hustle you, out-muscle you with his size. Two, he talks a lot of shit. And there's people that realize and feel like, he gets booked in fights because of his mouth. It's not so much what he does in the ring, but the things he say. And then for the people that think, oh, that's good for the sport. No, it's really not. Because you have to go in there and show and prove. And for people to feel like that's what the sport needs, shit talkers. Okay, so you can't go in there and lose fights and then make excuses after you lose. For one, to say, I don't get the shots. Well, you lost to Dubois. After all of that shit talking, calling him a shrimp, and you're going to do this and that, and he's not going to last, I'm going to wear him out, he's going to quit. Then you get beat decisively just to make an excuse as to why you lost the fight. Then you call Deontay Wilder an excuse maker, and he is, but then you make excuses. One of the biggest things is him calling Anthony Joshua a drug cheat, and then he fails his test. He said it multiple times. So you can't call people drug cheats and then you fail. And then expect people to sit back and go, oh, well, hey, maybe it was a tainted test or maybe it was this and that. Now, can I say other people have gotten off the hook? Absolutely. Can I say that they don't keep the same energy with every fighter? Absolutely. But for Jarrell Miller, if you're must-see TV like you say, then you wouldn't need to just call Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder's name. And that seemed to be his formula. Whenever he wants some attention, let me go into calling, Deontay Wilder a bitch and how I fucked his chick and how Anthony Joshua is a pussy. Maybe he'll lay off of Deontay with that shit simply because now he's no longer with that person. So maybe he won't go into that anymore or whatever. But I feel like for Deontay, that's one ass whooping he should be wanting to give out for sure. For sure, because like I don't see how you can try to act like you have such a personal thing against Anthony Joshua or any other fighter, for that matter, when this man was completely disrespecting you. Okay, and when his ex-chick was your chick, all these things he was saying. So if something's personal and it's about a fight, there's people that Deontay fought that I'm pretty sure people would rather have seen him fight Jarrell Miller instead of those, particular fighters. But at the same time, Jarrell Miller doesn't do anything in the ring that make people go, yo, this dude is special. Hey, this guy is, this and that. I mean, just being a volume puncher and being much bigger than everybody else doesn't bring excitement. And then, not to mention, as far as him, well, like I said, him saying that Anthony Joshua was a drug cheat, then he fails. He always has complaints, man. Like, he just always, every interview, I've never seen an interview with Jarrell Miller and he just vibing, shooting and shit and everything is cool. It's always, he has an attitude about something. And it's like he tries to get the sympathy of the people. Look, if Anthony Joshua, in fact, if you can't get the fights, you lost to Andy Ruiz. Now, I thought Jarrell Miller won that fight, but fighters that have experience are supposed to know I got to turn up. I'm not, and I'm not trying to leave it in the judge's hands, but hey, you know what? I got to turn up. And if you can't do more than what you've done, and now I thought he won the fight, but the fact that when you fight a close fight, especially when you fight somebody who, let's just be real, Ruiz at once held the title at one point, and we see how his career went. And an example, after he beat Jarrell Miller, what has he done since then? Nothing. So the problem with Jarrell Miller is he has no significant wins. Well, you should be angry at the whole heavyweight division if you can't get the fights you want, because the division consists of far more fighters than just Anthony Joshua and Deontay, especially when he said he think Anthony Joshua was on the decline. Okay, if you feel like he's on the decline, you feel like Deontay Wilder's on the decline, why would you want to fight them so bad? The past is the past. And, I don't know anything about Anthony Joshua fighting Jared Anderson. I heard him say that. Jarrell Miller said that that's who Anthony Joshua was supposed to be fighting. I just saw an interview with Ben Davison. And Ben Davison said Anthony Joshua is recovering from a hand surgery that he just had. And so that hand surgery is why, Anthony Joshua talked about it himself. That he had to go get a surgery on his arm or his hand or whatever. And so I haven't heard anything. This is on Talk Sports or whatever it is. The British show. And no idea, nothing about Jared Anderson versus Anthony Joshua came up out of nobody's mouth. So I don't know where he gets that from or where, I don't know. But you shouldn't be worried about who Anthony Joshua is fighting. It's like, without mentioning Anthony Joshua, without mentioning, Deontay Wilder, you really have nothing of your own to offer the sport of boxing that you feel confident that people want to get into. He's talking about getting his own promotional company, building his own promotional company. He has no promoter at this point and everything. Jarrell Miller is a guy who, if he focused on boxing, keeping his weight down and really focused and lose the bullshit attitude, man, like the whole, I'm going to let my mouth carry me into big fights. Okay, but when you lose those fights, like, let's just be real. Jarrell Miller has done nothing to earn a title shot. Nothing at all. So, to call out these names and want the competition, okay, cool. But you're calling out names that you haven't gotten, you've been calling out for years, and you still haven't done anything. So, at what point do you not realize, I have to do something else? Right? I have to do something different. I have to go out here and fight. And if I can't get certain fights, okay, why is that? What am I doing wrong? This is what I mean about the constantly blaming everybody else for, like, his shortcomings. But I think that as far as, the way the public see him, for the most part, it's the same thing. Like, you haven't done anything, but you keep talking like you're so accomplished. To call somebody pussy that's done far more than you, and if your mentality is, well, if I fight him, I'll beat him. Right. You said the same thing about Daniel Dubois, man. Let's just be real. And Daniel Dubois beat you. You know, you couldn't turn up anymore against Andy Ruiz, and people don't feel like you dedicated to the sport. You don't take your training serious. You come in overweight, and come on, man. As a pro, at some point, you have to learn the discipline, and I feel like that's the reason this dude can't get the big fights. He just don't do anything for anybody watching him. Turkey threw him a bone, like I said, and put him in the mix. Put him in the mix, and he lost. So what more do you want? You know, after all that talking, once you get that shot, man, you got to seize that moment. Simple. And I feel like that's the reason he can't get it done, and that's the reason why he's not getting called. Not because people are afraid of him, because he's such a dynamo in that ring. But anyway, that's my story on him, based on his story and his career. Talk to me in the comment section, y'all. Never fall in love with lies. Remember, the truth brings hate out of people, and I will catch y'all on the next video.